Hello guys, thank you for joining me today for yet another episode of Inside Fnatic's Brush, which is a bit of a special one today as it is pre-recorded. Unfortunately cannot be present live on Thursday where I usually do my shows, but still the show must go on, and it will even have to do it for like a sort of premiere format. So for those watching live, thank you for still joining in. For those watching the VODs, appreciate your time. As usual, we're going to do a little recap of last week. Week 5, which has been pretty crazy. A lot of upsets. Australia's getting its first wins. Some teams now who might not make playoffs. So we'll look at that in our first segments of our LEC Recap. Obviously, going over Fnatic, who's had an amazing week. What an incredible performance from the guys. Some players to shout out, obviously, on top of the MVPs and what it will look like. A little segment that I've added as well that I've not included here, but we'll have a look. It's the status of Fnatic and NG2. Are they back to being the top two teams again? Is story rewriting itself? We'll have a look at that. We'll have a little discussion. Obviously, to conclude it all, our week 6 predictions. Obviously, since it's recorded in advance, I don't have your guys' full results yet, so I will include them in the scoring. No problem. So it'll just be a look at my predictions. Maybe I can check to see what are the first impressions of the votes in advance. But yeah, I guess we'll do that. But anyways, to get us started, guys. Current rankings, current standings. As you can see, things have shaken up quite a bit. Rogue's still in first, but no longer undefeated. Actually got their first 2 losses handed to them. First of them by none other than Astralis, which is, the script just writes itself, I guess. The undefeated team versus the winless team, the unstoppable force versus the immovable object, as history would want it. And Astralis just playing incredibly aggressive and able to hand Rogue their first loss. The second one coming from Misfits, which definitely was surprising. Misfits, I think, are definitely on the up and coming right now, solidifying themselves as, first of all, a playoff team, but potentially top 4 team. We'll have to see if they continue to be consistent, obviously. Still joint second, Fnatic and G2, eternal enemies, just can't get rid of each other, I guess. And so now we're coming, to like sole possessions for when it comes to sort of middle standings. So we have Misfits in 4th, XL now getting a very, maybe I shouldn't say very, but let's say they're starting to get comfortable in a decent playoffs position with their recent score. They went 2-0 this week, noticeably against, I had that written down, where was it? So against BDS, but against Vitality as well. So definitely the addition of of Mickey X really helped them out here, and they're starting to see some solid results. Mickey, who's, I think, starting to find his pace, starting to gel with Patrick and the rest of the team, and doing what he does best, which is being very solid in lane, good roams, good mechanics, and his whole I think, maybe people don't know, but Mickey has always been good with his warding / dewarding, getting the right vision and denying vision at the same time. I think at some point he had the record of most wards destroyed. So yeah, very very solid player, and good to see him back in form. Now, with Excel coming into that playoffs position, that means we have two interesting teams who are fighting for the sixth spot. So you have Mad Lions on one side, who's been having a very rough playoffs time, and Vitality as well, who 1 week they're doing well, another week they're 0-2. Not too sure what happened. And then we have our bottom three: SK, BDS, Astralis. SK, while they won against Mad Lions, still not looking that convincing. BDS, it feels like they're coming together, but they're still losing games that they shouldn't be losing. And for me, that's a big red flag in terms of the capacity of their players to convert games. And Australia is still at the bottom, but at least a first win. So obviously the top teams of this week, as you can see, no surprises here. Fnatic and G2, at the top of their performances recently. G2 is being very consistent. They had a bit of a rough game against Mad Lions, and it looked like they were going to lose, but a bit of misplays from Mad Lions and Broken Blade coming back into the game just really helped them get that win. I think out of the two, obviously, Fnatic, much more consistent, incredible weekend with very clean games overall, very little space for mistakes. Bringing out some new picks. We had the Graves for Wunder. I don't think I think that was the first time he was playing at the split. Obviously, the Zeri, Hylissang bringing back his patented pike and was just causing havoc within the first minute of the game. So definitely, Fnatic and G2 still neck and neck, showing that they're, I think, both deserving of that joint second, potentially scrapping that first place from Rogue. Some mentions here with Astralis picking up their first win after struggling, but actually looking like they finally have their style. So even though they're, I think playoff streams are out of the way, but at least they're showing that they're going in the same direction. And if it's that constant fighting, almost LPL-like aggression, not to say that they have the level of LPL, but they have that playstyle of just, you see someone, you go in with strong engaged picks for Promiscu with his Leona. Joint in with Zanzara, who I think they're kind of on the same wavelengths here. So definitely, interesting to see how they move on. If they continue to be a bit of a spoiler team, like a threatening team to the top six and kind of perturb the potential rankings in the end. Excel obviously coming back a bit by bit. 2-0 week, looking very, very solid in their performances. Mickey X having a strong impact for the team. So are they going to continue to snowball those performances? And Misfits, I think, obviously there was a big performance from Neon against Rogue. But overall, like VTO, who continues to be, I think, probably one of the biggest MVPs candidate for the season. I think he's top of the standings for player of the game, but he's a bit like Razork was for that team last year, where he's the one who's gonna be central to their victory, and he's gonna be the one that's gonna bring them over that finish line eventually. So yeah, just a very strong performance from this player, and it's impacting the whole team. And when there's him plus another member who can be very strong, whether it be like Zlatan, Neon, still waiting for Herrit to, I don't know, get back to that form that he had last year. I think last year he was definitely one of the better top laners. This year, I don't know what happened. If he's not feeling it, if he's having to readapt to their new playstyle. I think even Mersa has been very good for the team. This guy's, I think he's 18, and in a role where there's a lot of very strong veteran players like Kelly Sang, Mickey, and good new slash recent players like Trimby, Kaiser, even Targamas obviously hasn't been in the LEC for a long time, but is like a veteran player. So I'll put them amongst them. But definitely had a very strong. Sorry, and I think Mersa is like doesn't have to be shy to be considered. Top five, top six, definitely in his role. Um, we'll still need to see more from him before you know we can really state any status of him amongst the top supports. But I think he's fitting well within Misfits, and he's providing definitely, I would say, somewhat of an upgrade over Vander at this stage of the competition. So that's for our top picks. Now for our sort of bottom of the barrel, the guys who kind of flopped. Obviously, Rogue. Not only losing once but actually twice this week. Very surprising, as we were expecting way more from them. Especially obviously against Astralis. I don't think, except for the memes, obviously, no one would have expected Rogue to be handed their first loss from him. I think what's happened this weekend in particular is that Marang's playstyle, which has been talked quite a bit, of a very straightforward solo queue. You see a person overextended, you gank him, has been kind of exploited and capitalized by both Astralis and Misfits. And so maybe now they're going to be in that second wave of, okay, we've won everything so far. How do we adapt now that maybe some of our playstyle has been discovered? So it will be interesting to see how Rogue continues within the next couple of weeks if they get back to 2-0, 2-0. So we can maybe scratch this weekend as, just sort of getting discovered slash adapting to the new meta as the new patch was applied here this week. Or if they really are without any answers to this playstyle that was successful until then, but the moment it got kind of exposed, they don't have anything to replace it, or at least to adapt from. So, no undefeated split for Rogue. Now, I don't think they really cared about this, but how they're going to reply, I think, is much more important. So definitely a team to keep your eye on for week 6, and see if they're back to their very clean play style with Marang being the leader for the plays and establishing map control, or if they kind of fumble a bit and continue losing more games going forward. And second team, obviously, I wanted to mention is Vitality. Now, obviously, no need to repeat that Vitality has been showcased as the super team of the LEC. A lot of superstars, a lot of potential perks, Alfari, what have you. I'm not going to do that narrative again. Now, what I was seeing last week is that it looked like Vitality was on the upward trend. They were starting to get their first 2 wins. They were, I believe, was it 5 and 4. So they were back to sort of positive win rate, which means that since the first Super Week, they had only lost 1 game. So week 2, week 3, and week 4, only 1 lost game out of 6 games. There we go. So it definitely looked like they were improving, much more team play. Selfmade, obviously, I think who's the best player, was being finally assisted by Perks, who was getting very good CS scores, improving in lane, good in team fight. So it definitely felt like Vitality was finally getting there. And this week, it just felt like we were back to the first week, basically. Very disjointed. Alfari just doing nothing. Like, might as well play 4v5 and put a tutorial bot on the top lane, because it's crazy for me, for a guy who's meant to be so good in lane, to have zero impact when it comes to playing the map. Like, legit shocking display from him. Especially when you know how well he was doing in NA and how little he's doing in EU. Now, is the top lane like pool of players that insane? I don't necessarily think so. Like, Wunder is, he's completely being ignored by his jungler, and he's holding his lane, but he's not necessarily going into 1v1 kills, completely obliterating his opponent. He's just playing stabilized. I think Odoamne is definitely probably one of the best top laners right now. Broken Blade, I see a lot of people saying, "Oh, Broken Blade is so amazing." Like, he's a good player for sure, but like the Yon game he played against Mad Lions definitely wasn't it. He was like 0-3, 0-4. It just happened that Mad Lions made some mistakes. He capitalized on them, and because Yon is such a well balanced champion, he's still able to be super impactful. Just because he gets items, and even though he's 0-4, suddenly he's like 1v3. He just got the Razork Greaves. He's full item now, so obviously snowballs really hard once he gets shield broke. He's just like an unkilling machine who's just slashing you with both his sabers and healing, sustaining through team fights, and AoE ultimates, all that good stuff. Can get shield from mythic passive, and can get shield from his W. Great champion. So yeah, just to see, like, it's not like Alfari has to play against some friggin' Korean level top laners to really be impactful in the game, but he's just doing nothing. And I think that's, I don't know if he's necessarily the weakest link in the team, but he's definitely not helping Vitality be at that level we're expecting him at. So right now you're looking potentially at Vitality not making it to playoffs, which would, I don't think anyone would have predicted that, unless they go like full wild card guess and say, you know what, I'm just gonna do the hottest, most controversial of takes before the season starts, and say that Vitality is going to completely sink the boat and not make it. So yeah, it's very concerning. Back to sort of negative win rate. A bit like Rogue, we'll have to see if they bounce back or if they continue on that downward spiral. Problem is, compared to Rogue, if they continue to go down, it becomes very, very complicated for them to make playoffs. And if they don't make playoffs, I think it's going to be an absolute hellfire in Vitality offices, because when you have those players, when you have all these names within one single team, there's no way that you're not at least making top 2, in my opinion. So yeah, that's about my take. I haven't talked about the teams who are bottom of the rankings, especially. I could have spoken about BDS, but I've already mentioned them in like the past 2 episodes. Listen, they're still struggling right now. They're somewhat improving, so they're kind of in limbo between being in sort of that top area and that bottom area in terms of my rankings, obviously not regular standings. Like, they're definitely improving. There's some games they should have won. The game against Mad Lions they should have won. They just completely fumbled it. Even Syncroft had a bad game. What was it against Excel, I believe? I think this guy is just boomed mentally. Like, I feel really bad. He's definitely one of the better players, like better junglers in the LEC, and he's just getting completely overheld by his team. Like, I don't know if you guys heard some of the voice comms. But he is he's had enough, man. He's just like saying you guys are cringe or inting it, he's calling it out, which he's right to do. But the thing is, like, there's no necessary improvement. Like, his team is not able to convert games where they are ahead, and for me, that's a massive issue. So I'm gonna put it out there. It might not happen. Maybe it's me just putting in a crazy statement, but I think there's a high chance we see some roster moves from BDS during the summer. Even it can be a bit early. Um, for me, the problem is like it's growing, but there's so many like major flaws in this team, which I think are player reliant. That if you don't change those players, I don't think like your games are going to continue to be scrappy. So even if you win, it's never gonna look clean, and I don't think with the players that they have currently that aspect of BDS can actually be fixed. But yeah, I don't know what you guys think. Obviously, I don't have you in the chat to react, so if you wanna leave a comment, either Twitch, YouTube, whatever you're watching this from, please let me know. I'm really curious about what you guys are thinking about this whole scenario, the teams, maybe some elements that you want to speak about in particular. I'd be really happy to hear about it, and might even drop you a reply in the comments. But yeah, no, that's about it for the LEC. Very exciting week. Now, even more exciting, Fnatic's 2-0 week. Now, I think obviously over more than just the score itself, I think the most interesting aspect is the way we won. So the first game against SK, just I think the early game just sealed the whole game in its entirety. There's two major dives on bot lane. I mean, through both games, like I've said, got a lot of attention, but this was possible through like good wave management, great pathing, good sort of opportunity seeking from Humanoid to be able to rotate at the right moments without being answered by the enemy mid laner or matched by the enemy jungler as well. So they get, I believe it's a 3-0 start on a very early dive with like a wave and a half stacking against the bot lane of SK, and then from there on it was just it was like a rabid animal just not letting go of its prey. It just like claws in and just you know it is just ripping that shit apart. So super impressive. Just that first game, and then it was like, okay, so obviously SK isn't a great team, so maybe it was very easy to execute. How are we going to look against Vitality, who's been improving? Obviously, they lost that game the same day, but at that moment, it was like, okay, what's the situation? Is it just one bad game for Vitality, and then they spring back to action, different draft, different game, different approach, and against Vitality? So first of all, the draft was pretty fucking insane. I'm not gonna lie. Super like aggressive, hard to execute in the sense that I feel like if we really made a big mistake, like one team fight not going our way, I don't think there was any way for us to get back into the game. So we were lucky that we stayed ahead. Obviously, Hylissang's Pike, which was a big contributor here of getting those early leads and getting that first blood in the bot lane again with great. So first of all, great aggression from Hylissang, which forced some flash and other summoners. I think the ignite from Labrov also went on when he got caught in their turret, and he still didn't die because Hylissang is an absolute kamikaze madman. So that's the first part. Second part is Razork and Humanoid getting the good rotations, a bit like the SK game, and being there at the right time, at the right moment, being able to collapse on them. So that was a good part on the early game. some back and forth kills, like Hilly Sang not being sort of aware, or let's say, what was the word I'm looking for? Not being safe enough, let's say, when he went back into bot lane and went for river, was expected from Labrov, and Selfmade just jumped on him, and it's a bit of kill back and forth, the what would you call it? The sort of hyper aggressive move from Hilly Sang onto Karzi. He gets killed, but then Labrov gets too aggressive on Upset, so he gets a kill back. So it was like this back and forth until we get a very good first team fight in the bottom side jungle of Vitality. Razork and Upset go bonkers. Upset goes a bit too far, gets unfortunately killed by the last shot of the turret when he tries to chase and Parks on his Orianna. And then another team fight all the way in top lane, which kind of looked a bit touchy at times. Alfari, probably the only good action he does in the whole game, which was to tempo Humanoid's gold card with his Counter-Strike, and allows Perks and Selfmade to join back into the action. A bit of a back and forth game. It looked like Vitality had the edge. Very good exhaust from Humanoid with his spellbook onto Selfmade to avoid him from shredding him completely with the needlework. And then just this ultimate from nowhere from Razork onto Orianna just explodes her life bar, resets, kills. Wunder gets the kill on Selfmade, but still it was like combined damage. At the same time, Labrov tries to dip back, gets caught by Upset, and on the other side of the top lane, friggin' Hilly Sang, the madman, chases on his own Alfari and executes him after igniting him to get true vision. Whew, it was all over the place. Like, it was a 4-4-0, but man, what a team fight. What a team fight. And I think that's what makes this team super exciting. And if there's anything to highlight, I think, from this weekend, is Razork's performance. Obviously got the MVP on the second game, but I think can easily be considered as the overall MVP for the whole weekend. I'm trying to see how I can present this, but basically, Razork was a big question mark. He explained that he's still trying to find his groove within the team, still trying to sort of find his place, how to execute properly. We've seen him be some games very good, excellent team fights, some games completely absent or making some very weird moves on the map and get it caught. This week was really the Razork we were expecting. Very proactive, much more confident, playing the champions to sort of the win condition and the role that's associated with him. So when he was in the Volibear, much more like utility focused, frontline, enabling with his Q stuns and ultimate disabling turrets, which allowed for multiple bot lane dives. Good synchro with that mid to bot area, and I think it's almost good in the sense that he was inting a little bit because he was just overextending because he was feeling confident. But we don't want to see him inting, obviously, but we want to see him with that confidence to say, okay, I'm feeling good in the game, that I'm going to be over aggressive, and almost whippo-ish style in the sense that, hey, I have a massive shutdown. Fuck it, I don't care. I'm feeling so good and so strong. I'm just going to continue to go forward. So, great performance on that SK. Obviously, Humanoid got the MVP here because he was just turbo smurfing it on his rise. It was super impressive. Just finding those moments to be at the right time, right moment. The realm warps, the team fights. Just overall, I think Humanoid, wow. And I guess he's been inconsistent in the sense that he's done some weird moves, gets caught in lane, even though it's very obvious that he's, that there's a risk of him getting caught. But at the same time, he's just so friggin' dominant in lane, like farming under an enemy turret. Very good CS scores, very good damage scores. Um, I mean, it's it's good that he actually has a clean game, front to end, and he finally gets, I think, second MVP of the season for him. And I think obviously Razor gets the MVP on the second game there for this time playing a very aggressive pick, uh, carry style Viego, where he was getting some kills early and pretty much living inside Selfmade's jungle, catching them like 2 or 3 times. There's one moment where after Selfmade tries to get a gank on Wunder, that doesn't work out. Um, he gets collapsed on his golems by both Razork and, well, pretty much the whole team, I believe, without upset. There's the ult from TF. He comes in with the stun, obliterates it. Catches Selfmade a second time his jungle on the bot side, and even catches Jax sort of no man's land around Vitality Wolves. So just really like choking them out, not allowing them to go any further into the map, which again I think is a good representation of him gaining that necessary confidence um, within his playstyle and also within the advantages he's able to get. So, you know, very happy with the team's performance. Very clean game. Definitely like a massive improvement from week to week, where it feels like we've just gone into a new version of Fnatic, who allows himself to maybe be, one playstyle which is give all the resources to upset, but are executing it properly, and at the same time giving more space for Razork to do his thing. And what was the third element? And I guess just obviously Razor gaining that confidence, which I think is a bit of that switch that was needed to go even further into the full capacity of this team. So it definitely had me really excited to see if we continue, if we're consistent, if we at least, going into further games, try to be more flexible. Are we going to continue to, heavily focus bot lane, help upset, get ahead? It would be, I guess, the strat, because there's a lot of scaling champions right now in the pool. You have the Zeres, the Jinx, the Aphelios, which are 3 big picks currently. So obviously you want to put these champions ahead and then allow them to carry you into big team fights going into the mid to late game. But yeah, super happy for Razork. I hope he realizes what he's able to achieve, gains that confidence, is happier about himself. I'm seeing a lot of love between him and Hylissang, and that's what you want to see. Obviously Hylissang, such a sweetheart, and Razork seems like a very, very nice guy as well. So super happy that he's finally finding his pace and his place within the team. And quick subject I wanted to talk to you guys about and see what you were thinking is that a bit of analysis that I've made recently is that it feels like G2 and Fnatic are back at the top. Well, okay, maybe I shouldn't say back at the top. They've both been at the top, just not at the top, but definitely like they haven't been really bad recently. But right now it feels like G2 and Fnatic are the best teams in the LEC. Now, maybe this is a bit of a hot take since Rogue has been handed his first 2 losses, and maybe I'll have a completely different pitch next week. But it feels to me, so if we look at both teams, G2 coming in obviously with a lot of new players, a rookie that hasn't really proven himself, Targamas with a lot of expectations we know what he's capable of, and Broken Blade being more of like a really carry orientated player in the sense that he's very good mechanically, but is he able to do more than that? And so far, I think the most important has been for them is to find a style, and G2 has been able to find that. They're back into being a very goofy team, relaxed. You have a lot of, I'd say, joking personalities with Flacket, Broken Blade, and I think Caps really thrives with this type of environment. Especially when you have guys also like Yankos who are kind of in the same mood. So it feels like Caps has found a new bunch of friends, and it helps him to perform much better. We're definitely seeing um, much better games from him recently after a little dip on last year, and I think that's mainly due to team atmosphere. I think that he's strongly impacted by this, and now that he has a team that might be a bit more flexible, that are actually playing a lot of different picks. I think Broken Blade is on like 9, 10 different champions. Targamas is on one different champion per game. I don't know if he's going to go all the way to 18, but he's shown that capacity of being ultra flexible. Now, is what made the success of G2 in previous years, to be able to move the picks around. So, are they back to that sort of playstyle? It could be, and they would definitely become very, very threatening if they're able to hone and master this playstyle again with, a very, very, very new, fresh team for sure. And again, just want to highlight Targamas as being definitely a star player for them, very plug and play in that sense, and has been a playmaker and a difference maker in a lot of team fights. Especially, I'm thinking more recently against Mad Lions, who's been one of the main factors where he's turned around team fights and helped G2 get back into the game. So yeah, very, very strong performance from G2. You have to give credit where credit is due. They're joint second with Fnatic, and even though I've touched more about Fnatic previously, I think it's important to state that just as well as G2, there are 3 new players. Definitely veterans, much more experience overall. But I don't know which player was explaining this, but even if you bring in very experienced players, you're still playing with 3 new players, and that means adapting playstyles and stuff like this. It's not just you put the best players together and you expect from them to perform really well. Just look at Vitality. That's definitely not what's happening with them. And so the question comes of like, okay, well, now that you have these very good players, how do they, mesh together? Is there an actual synergy? And I think a lot of the credit for Fnatic is actually being, well, at least so far, showing that this is what a real super team looks like, in a sense that there doesn't seem to be like a really weak link within the team that's holding the team back. It's just players with different levels, different challenges personally. And the Fnatic's losses don't rely on a single player. It's definitely a team thing. So what happens then is that you look maybe individually what each player is doing or has been tasked to do within the team, and the bot lane has been very much the same, which manage their lane properly, potentially get 2v2 kills, be very aggressive, bring pressure to their side. When it comes to humanoid, is to be able to be that sort of carry slash clutch player. Now, it's weird because the games we've had so far haven't really required him to be very clutch in a sense. So it seems so far that he hasn't really been tested, and he's just playing very strong and is also bringing a lot of attention to his lane. Unfortunately, has been victim to those ganks, but I think this is definitely something that's been improving recently. When it comes to Razork, obviously, is trying to adapt from this very carry orientated playstyle where all sort of the action would go through him within Misfits, going to a team where you have just very very strong laners within Wunder, Humanoid, Upset Hilly, obviously, and seeing, okay, well, they can handle themselves. They really know me. So trying to change your playstyle, how do you enable? How do you actually take the advantages that your lanes are giving you for yourself, and you know, help them snowball or capitalize on those advantages they create themselves. And we've seen that recently with, bot dives, map control and stuff like this, invading enemy junglers, and the team being able to collapse because they have that priority in their individual lanes. And then obviously Wunder, who's so far being a bit of a pillar, where it's like you take whatever champion we give you, just don't die, and try to lose the least possible way. And I think so far he's been doing a great job. A bit of a silent carry, especially on the Graves game. He's played super well against, especially counter pick against Jax, which, obviously you can say, well, Alfari didn't do anything, but still, in comparison, Wunder capitalized on Alfari doing nothing, and creating those advantages, creating that pressure topside, forcing Selfmade to gank his lane, stay alive, and then therefore create the response from Razork to then go gank on the top lane. And it was very clinical, these games during the weekend. And if this team continues forward, they're definitely going to be the best team there. Now, obviously, we have G2 versus Fnatic as game of the week for week 6. They lost last time, but Upset has spoken about on Euphoria about the mistakes they've made and how much more confident he's feeling if they don't make the same mistakes and they're able to snowball their advantages. So again, it's going to be a test game for them to see if, okay, you lost against G2, unfortunate. You had some very good early game moves, but the game kind of snowballed out of control after you took some bad team fights. So if you're going to win against G2, how hard are you going to win against G2? And that's what I'm most focused about. So we'll have to see if we have yet another banger. Potentially, maybe I guess I'm gonna put a take another one here, is that potentially top 2 teams are going to be Fnatic, G2. I think Rogue might stumble a bit more and end up more of in a third place. We'll have to see, but I could clearly see Fnatic, G2 fighting for that first place, for the first pick. Obviously, you can call me biased, but I think Fnatic definitely has more tools now. G2 still has to find, I think, more quality within their ADC, for instance, to capitalize on that. But yeah, I just think overall they're both teams are looking great, who are growing at the right pace, and potentially this could be our LEC final for spring, and that would be a complete banger for sure. Love me some rivalry. I know a lot of people were talking about the fact that the G2 Fnatic rivalry is gone because there aren't all those players anymore. Like Wunder is in Fnatic, Reckless is gone, Parks is no longer there. But more than just this aspect of those teams of there's linked players within the organization. It's more about the constant rivalry of challenging each other to stay at the top and represent their organization, and the history of their organization at the top of Europe League of Legends. So yeah, just wanted to talk about it a little bit. I don't know if you guys agree, if I'm maybe on some hopium copium shit right now, but yeah, I think we're potentially looking at these teams as being top 2, with Fnatic being top 1, obviously. But yeah, leave me your comments. Let me know. Even hit me up on the Twitter account, @MattScott_ for my personal account, and at IFB Podcast for the podcast account. But to close out this podcast very quickly, obviously, so you guys are still kicking my ass, by the way. So what happened is that my lack of faith within Fnatic shot me down, as I voted for Vitality, thinking they were on the upwards trend, and we, like on the last 2 weeks, we were 1-3, right? But it was a very weird week last week. Obviously, some teams coming back at the studio, and maybe that impacted some stuff. But nevertheless, my picks for this week. So as you can see, Fnatic Astralis first game of the week isn't that crazy. Starting at 6 p.m. CT. I think there's some very interesting games for this week. Fnatic Astralis actually might be a very close one, seeing how Astralis is playing recently and just being constantly aggressive. We'll have to see how Fnatic plays against this. Misfits Excel, I think, is going to be a very interesting game. Misfits and Excel are two very good teams. I think we might have a very close one. I still think Misfits has the edge. I think they're much cleaner overall, but who knows? There might be a bit of a discrepancy in the top lane between Finn and Hirit, depending how well Finn plays, obviously. But yeah, BDS Vitality now. I'm expecting Vitality to win, but I would not be surprised if BDS can kind of continued on their sort of weird progress and finally managed to close it out. I'm still going with Vitality on this one, but wouldn't be surprised if BDS wins it. G2 SK, I think that's pretty straightforward. I think G2 is much stronger here. Rogue versus Mad. So obviously you could think I might be close because Rogue is 0-2. I just think Mad just looks really disappointing right now. So I'm going to give it to Rogue for this time. My thought process is Rogue is just had a bad week and they're gonna go back into winning form next week. But maybe I'm wrong. But I still think there's a high chance that it's gonna happen. Looking at the second day, Excel versus Astralis. I think there shouldn't be any surprise here unless Astralis pulls one out of the bag. BDS SK. SK did win against Mad Lions. BDS, I think, I believe won last time they faced SK, so I'm expecting them to reproduce this time. But who knows? Who knows? SK could also pull one out of the bag here. Mad versus Misfits. Looking at Mad's recent form, I think Misfits looking definitely more solid. Vitality versus Rogue. Kind of the same thing. I think Rogue looks better overall despite their 0-2 week. G2 versus Fnatic. That's the one, guys. That's the one. And I think to be fully convincing after this week's, last week's games, I should say, I think a win against G2 would just kind of seal the deal. Not only help us distinguish ourselves from the sort of joint second place, but really put ourselves as a sole second and take it over. But yeah, you guys let me know what your predictions are, what you think. Obviously, I haven't put you guys yet. The votes are still going. Actually, I can have a quick look over on the Twitter. Let me see. I'm trying to check the scores. Oh, we're actually winning in CSGO pretty hard against Big, so that's nice. Okay. I'm just gonna do this, mute site. I'm sorry, guys. Just give me 2 seconds. I just want to check the CSGO score. Okay, it's 15-7 for Fnatic. They're on pistols. No, sorry, they're not. Yeah, they are on pistols. So might be 15-8. Hopefully it doesn't go to OT. There's a lot of rounds, but you never know. They can always choke it. Okay, sorry. Predictions. So you guys are voting so far. So for the first day, you've put Fnatic ahead. 100% of the votes against Astralis. Excel over Misfits. Okay, only 7 votes, so there's still some time. The vote still goes until tomorrow evening, I believe. BDS Vitality, you guys have Vitality. G2 SK, you guys have G2. Rogue versus Mad, you have Rogue. Okay. And for the second day, Excel Astralis, you guys voted Excel. BDS SK, you've given a slight edge to SK. Misfits versus Mad, you've given it to Misfits as well. Rogue versus Vitality, you've given it slightly to Rogue. And G2 Fnatic, there's someone who's voted for G2. I will find you, my dude. but no. So I think we have pretty similar votes here. Maybe one or two different. But yeah, with that said, that concludes our first, I guess, premiere type podcast. Again, thank you if you've tuned in today. Really appreciate it. Also, if you watch the VOD, thank you very much. I really appreciate any feedback you guys can give me, or just you guys watching, leaving a like, leaving a comment. Super cool. So yeah, I'll see you next time live next Thursday. And yeah, big game of the week again versus G2. 2-0 week, I believe it. Win against G2, I believe it. See you guys. Always Fnatic. Peace.